Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. It's an honor to welcome Jon Gordon to the show. He has mastered positive thinking, the power of a positive team, as an international best-selling author, a speaker, and now on the couch of Good Morning LaLa.
That's right.
Thrilled to be here.
Well, we're thrilled
to
to
have you,
start the new year with some power of positivity. So let's get straight to it. When did you discover the secret, and what is it?
I discovered the secret years ago when I was actually negative, and my wife almost left me. And she said, you know, I'm not going to spend my life with someone who makes me so miserable. So I had to become more positive. I started to research all these ways I could be more positive. And I discovered that when I implemented these practices, I won the battle in my mind. And once you win that battle, you're able to be more positive for yourself, and then you make everyone around you better when you live with that positivity.
There's nothing worse. And you talk a lot about building a positive team. And I think we've all been in situations in business where there's gossip behind the scenes and whatever. I remember years ago learning, no triangulation, basically where you don't talk bad about anyone behind their back. You go directly to that person if you've got an issue. Tell us a little bit about how you see the power of a positive team.
Negativity will sabotage a team.
Yeah.
One person can't make a team, but one person could break a team. And so you need to come together in a positive way, but you also have to have the difficult conversations that say, how can we get better? What are we doing wrong? How can you improve? How can I improve? Be open to feedback. And when everyone's focused on getting better themselves and making each other better, it's about the team. It's about we before me. I work with the Rams, and that's one of our key messages with the Rams. We before me. It transformed their culture, and it will transform any team when you focus on the we first.
So how do we find those people? Because you can do personality tests, whatever, but it's not till you kind of hang out with somebody for a while that this person's kind of focusing on the negative again, really?
I call those people false positives. So they seem positive in the interview, but they're not really very positive when you start working together. So it is a trial period. You can't always tell if someone's gonna be positive or not. I have a company that implements the no complaining rule though. And they say, if you're a complainer, this is not the right place for you. They tell them that in the interview process.
Most people don't think they're complaining when they're complaining, though. They just think they're talking about life.
Right.
And they're just being real.
Yeah.
And I think,
We're the hashtag real talk.
Oh man, real talk.
Yeah. Exactly.
and that's
fun.
Every team in you have a culture here. So you three have a culture of this team. And so every team has a culture. So you have to decide, this is how we do things here. This is how we handle negativity. This is how we address whether someone is being fake or not, and we discuss it, you confront it. And you may have to have those conversations, and it may actually not go well, but most often it actually does when you bring it to the forefront and you deal with it at the cultural level at first.
So do you actually have a manual, like as a CEO? Because I always teach my girls, you need to understand to be the CEO of your life. You are creating everything. You've got to have a rundown of how you're going to handle this, how you're going to handle this. So how do you do that? Like, do you have a rundown?
This is a framework.
If somebody is, complaining, this is how we handle it.
So this is a framework for building a great team. So this is everything you need to know about being a great team. It's the key principles, practices, and a team is meant to read this together. So the Rams all read it together. The Dodgers, everyone got a copy with the Dodgers. They all read it. So you read it together and say, what do we need to do to be a great team? And just by reading that, you're going to be aware of the negativity and the things that could sabotage your team and your organization.
Jon, I'm very curious to know, though, how did you secure accounts like the Dodgers, like the Rams? There must be something very specific and unique and different about you and your practice.
Well, I worked with Clemson football for the past 7 years, worked with the Atlanta Falcons for 7 years. What happened was I wrote a book called The Energy Bus. And every coach started to read that book because it's about fueling your life and team with positive energy and getting rid of energy vampires that sabotage the team. And there's ways in there about how to deal with the energy vampires, confront the negativity so you can overcome it and be a stronger team. So that happened, and then coaches started inviting me to speak. And then once I started to speak, these principles work. And so we started to see results from these teams and these organizations. And if you administer these principles, you implement them, you're going to have success. So over time, more and more coaches call, you work with more and more teams, and that's how it works.
So I'm from Pittsburgh, and deep down I have this question, and I'm not going to put you on the spot. But I want to ask you about the Steelers and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Ball.
That's
but,
great insight.
Yeah.
So when I watched that, and by the way, Mike Tomlin, great coach.
Yeah.
We both spoke to the Pittsburgh Pirates together at the same time. So we had a great conversation. Like, this guy is a great leader. So I know he's a great leader. I know they've built a great culture. So what happens there is a lack of communication. Where there's a void in communication, negativity will fill it.
Yes.
So we have to make sure we're filling that void with positive communication. So you can tell there's a breakdown. Every great team needs to communicate, connect, commit, care. 4 C's.
I think you should write a relationship, how to date. It's really, right? It applies the same.
I was on the Today Show talking about relationships with this book, actually.
Yeah.
So we actually talked about relationships and couples with the Power of a Positive Team, because it applies.
So what's the secret then? If you have to share something with a teammate or with a partner within the context of a relationship and you have bad news, you know you're going to deliver your truth, you're going to communicate, and it's going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Right. It starts before the bad news. Doc Rivers, I know Doc real well. When we had the issue with the Clippers a few years ago, he had communicated so well to his team up front that when they had the issue with Donald Sterling, he was able to keep that team together. So it starts with, are we communicating, connecting up front, having the trust, building the bond, developing the relationship. So when we have the bad news, we can talk about it. I had a leader that gave bad news. 10% were being fired. He got a standing ovation because he had built such trust and people had loved him so much they knew he had to do this. It wasn't that he was trying to be mean.
That's so interesting because I think a lot of times people forget that being open and honest will elicit this trust on the forefront, because a lot of times, and I know I'm guilty of it, I withhold information because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt somebody. And so then when you want to deliver that information, you haven't established that bond of trust with open communication beforehand.
That's a great point. That is a really great point. We are afraid to communicate. We're afraid to confront because we don't want to rock the boat.
Exactly.
And so as a team, we never move from there's a lot of likes today, especially with social media, to love. And you have to have the conflict to move to love. Great teams have conflict. My family at home, my wife and kids, we fight. We're not always positive, but the fighting makes us stronger because we have trust and love, so we learn and grow from it.
You should tell Instagram about that. There'd be a like button and a love button. Oh no, they don't even get this started. It's going to cause all problems.
It's a great point that you're making here, though. It's both about sort of building this bank of goodwill in advance, and also, the point that straight roads don't make skilled drivers, right? And so how do you encourage someone, let's say that they maybe have or have not done such a great job of building that bank of goodwill that they can draw on later, and they're in the midst of a very difficult conversation. What are the most important things that they need to do in order to navigate those curved roads in a way that's successful and positive and productive for both parties?
Great question. Be authentic, be transparent, come first with your own issues and your own shortcomings. I know I've messed up here. I know I have these flaws. I haven't done these things right, and I'm going to work on that, and I apologize. But let's come together, and perhaps we can do this together.
And maybe stop there and not say, but you. The reason I did all that.
It's because you did this.
But you need to get to that as well, but then say, let's talk about maybe ways we can both get better. So I just share with you some of mine. Maybe you can share some of yours.
I love it.
I mean, you're very skilled. I'm not going to lie. We have a lot of people on the couch and they have a lot of teachers, but you're very clear. Like, you put it into such a succinct way. Was there training? Was there other coaches you worked with?
No training. It's really on-the-job training, working with all these coaches and teams. You see what the issues are, but people say that my books are always, I've written 18 books, they're always so
Well, by the
simple.
18th book, you got to get it down to
They're very
science, right?
simple and clear, so very simple. So I take complex things and make it simple so we can act on it, but I think I do that because I'm simple. Like, my mind actually just thinks simply. People say it's genius. No, I'm simple. I'm not very complicated, so I always try to distill it down to the most simple thing. What can we do to take action? What are the issues? How do we get rid of the issues? Like you talked about thoughts earlier. Negative thoughts are always going to come in. They always do. And I love what you said. Don't believe those lies. Don't believe those negative thoughts. If you don't believe them, you can move forward with power and truth. It's a simple principle to understand. And once you do, you can live with that truth and that power.
Okay, so then I have a question. So there's people that, this is great, it's very simple, but some people will know all this, but they can't apply it.
Right.
What do you do? Because maybe that's just not even your genre. You're like, well, you just don't belong on the team if you're that. That's somebody else to deal with that. What do you do with somebody really, they just can't do what they say they're going to do?
That's where you first and foremost coach, you mentor. So we have consultants, we have coaches that work with teams. I don't do that a lot personally, just with a core group, but we have other consultants that work with teams. But you first coach, you mentor. If you're the leader, you're coaching others. But if someone cannot work together with others, if they can't be a great team member, no matter how much you coach, no matter how much you want it for them,
We know
you may have to let them off the bus. And you're not doing it because you're being mean to them, you're doing it because you love everyone else. and you care about everyone else. And if that one person is sabotaging and they're not willing to change, you have to make a change.
Right.
You have to.
Great
So,
point.
in a gift of the new year, you've got a free plan, Power of Positive You. Tell us a little bit about it, where people can sign up.
The Power of Positive You is a 7-step plan. They could just go to jongordon.com, JON-Gordon.com, and it's just a 7-step simple plan that allows you to take action for the new year. One of those exercises is your word for the year. I'd love to know your words for the year. Like what word will drive you to be your best in 2019? This year, last year my word was connected, and it's just, a powerful word. It's amazing how that one word will drive you to be all that you're meant to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
Last year, my word was thrive. And this year, freedom.
Oh,
We should ask that when all the guests come back.
great question.
Great question.
So we got anything
partnership.
set up for that.
My word is
tuned.
expand this year.
Expand.
I want to expand my capacity to handle it all, expand the influence to make a difference and to reach others.
Love it. Partnership.
Partnership.
Yep. Yeah, but we have the same practice. We have all the girls come up with their one word, and it's amazing, right? How much it drives you.
It's so
for sure. Yeah,
powerful.
it's so powerful.
I love it. I'd say mine's presence still. It was presence last year, but I feel like it's something you can always deepen. You can always deepen in presence, Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
I love it. What's your word? Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.